Recently, I started selling my art through an online marketplace, and I thought it would be a great opportunity, a way to find more collectors, to get more sales. And I ultimately ended up having a really bad experience that left me feeling really betrayed by the market that I was working with. And so I wanted to make this video to share what happened with me and also point to a larger trend that I'm seeing among online marketplaces and kind of point out where I think things are going wrong and ways that you, as an artist, if you want to sell your work in one of these spaces, can protect yourself and try to have a better experience than I had. So that's what I'm going to share today. But before I get into it, I just want to mention that if you like my videos, if you find them helpful, then be sure to check out my Patreon. On Patreon, I share these videos early and ad-free and have a lot of extra behind-the-scenes videos and even full real-time painting processes. So if you like my work, be sure to join me on Patreon. Okay, now let's talk about what happened. So, about 2 years ago, I considered joining this online marketplace, and I'd heard some good things about it. Multiple collectors I'd spoken with and people in the art industry had mentioned that it was a good place to sell work, or it was a place where they went when they were considering buying paintings. And I also heard from an artist friend that they were thinking of selling their work there too. And so I was thinking, well, maybe I should check it out. Maybe I should give this marketplace a try. Now, I'd been selling my work through my website and also through galleries in my area, but sometimes galleries close or my web traffic can go down, and so it can be helpful to have multiple sort of sales channels for my work. So I went to sign up, and this is when I noticed the first red flag. This website was not free for artists to sell their work. It turns out if you want to set up a shop on this website, you have to pay a fee. And it was a pretty expensive fee, to be honest. In the past, when I've sold through online marketplaces, the marketplace didn't require any fee just to have a shop. They only took a fee when you sold a piece of work. Kind of like if you're working with a gallery where you give your paintings to the gallery and then they only get money if they sell the paintings and they get the money through the commission. This website not only charged a commission, but it also charged a fee just to have the shop open. And that was a little concerning to me. That meant that even if I didn't sell anything, I still had to pay a fee just to be on the platform. And not only that, but to open a store on the platform, you had to sign a year-long contract. So I couldn't try it out for just a few months and see if it was working for me or not. I had to commit to a full year. And the fee for having a shop there for a full year was not very cheap. But I'd heard such good things from collectors and from artist friends that I thought, maybe it's worth it. Let's give it a try. So I signed up and I opened my shop. A few months go by and I just had a handful of sales and hardly any views on my work. I was doing everything I could, uploading nice pictures and videos and trying to do everything to get a lot of traffic to my shop, but it just wasn't working. You could even pay a bit of extra money to advertise your work on the platform so that it would get pushed to the top of search results. And I even tried that, but even that didn't help. Many months went by with hardly any traffic to my shop, and I realized that I needed to close it. It just wasn't worth the money of keeping it open. But when I went to close it, I found it really difficult. It wasn't like I could just close my shop on their website platform. I had to actually email someone from customer service and have a back and forth discussion with them to get them to close my shop. When I finally found the email and asked that my shop be closed, they replied saying that actually my contract had automatically renewed, and so I was locked in for a whole nother year of payments. I was surprised about this because I hadn't gotten any notification that my contract was going to get renewed, and I couldn't even see on the platform when my renewal date was. So to me, it felt like this was a pretty shady business practice. And it turns out that states like California, where I live, and New York even have laws that protect people from this, where they're not allowed to automatically renew subscriptions without first giving you notice and giving you an easy way to cancel your subscription. When I mentioned this to the platform, they said, no, we don't have to tell you when we're renewing your contract, and you're still locked in for the payments. So not only had I hardly sold anything on the platform, but now I was locked into a full year of additional payments for a platform that wasn't even useful to me. I went from thinking that this platform was my business partner to really feeling like they were just taking advantage of me. And I'm not saying the platform's name partially because I don't want their legal team coming after me, but also because I think that this is a growing trend that I'm seeing on several different online platforms for art sales. In fact, there are a few platforms that just over the past few years went from making it free for artists to have stores on their site to charging a fee, just like the platform that I was on. So I wanted to share my story and kind of share the lessons that I'm learning from this experience so that if you're considering using one of these platforms, then you can go in armed with more knowledge and more confidence that you can make it work for you. Because I think the answer is not to avoid these platforms entirely. For some people, these might be the best option for selling your work, but I think you just need to do it in a very thoughtful way, knowing the risks and knowing what you might be up against. When I think about the lessons that I'm learning from this experience, the first would be to really pay attention to these red flags. When a platform is requiring you to pay simply to have a storefront on their website, that's already a red flag. That means that they could just have a bunch of artists like you who aren't selling anything, and yet that company is still making money. And if they can trick you into locking you into a longer and longer contract, then they can continue to make money off of you. Which brings me to the second lesson: pay close attention to contracts that automatically renew. When you sign up for the service, write the renewal date somewhere in your calendar where you're going to see it, or even request that you cancel it right away. So as soon as you sign up, say, I only want to do this for a year. Please put in my cancellation request. And make sure you do this over email so that you have written evidence with timestamps of when you submitted your cancellation request. Third, be very careful if it's a website that you haven't heard of or if you don't know any reputable artists who are selling on that site. And if you do know artists who are selling on that site, ask them how their experience has been. If you don't know any artists who sell through that site, but you're still intrigued and you're in the US, you can check what's called the Better Business Bureau. The Better Business Bureau is a website where people can file complaints about specific businesses. And you can actually look up the business that you're interested in checking out, and you can see what complaints have been filed against them. For example, the platform that I was working with, when I looked them up on the Better Business Bureau, I saw that actually many people had complained about the fees they were charging vendors and about having difficulty in canceling their contracts. If I read those complaints in advance, I may have still decided to give the platform a try, but I definitely would have been a lot more careful and aware of this issue. So I hope that my story and these points have given you some things to think about if you're considering selling on one of these online marketplaces. And as I mentioned, this is a growing trend that I'm seeing. So I'm seeing more and more of these markets that are requiring fees for vendors, that are requiring longer contracts. It's not necessarily a reason not to work with these markets. For me, I'm able to generate a lot of traffic directly to my store on my website. And also, I get a lot of people looking at my work through the galleries I work with. But if you don't get much web traffic, if you don't have galleries to work with, these markets could be a good option for you. Just be informed, know the risks, know what you're getting into before you make any commitments. So anyway, I hope you found this video helpful. If you've had a similar experience with an online marketplace, feel free to share it in the comments below. It feels helpful to know that we're not the only ones. And if you have any questions, also you can post them in the comments. A huge shout out to my supporters on Patreon. Thank you guys so much for supporting this channel and making these videos happen. This video doesn't have any corporate sponsors and it's supported by people just like you. So if you like my art, if you like my videos and you want to help me make more, check out my Patreon at the link. Thanks again for watching and I'll see you next time.